StraighTAllDay.com.
Tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are talking key influence factors. And we'll get into what that means in a moment. These are key things that help you influence other people, but I'll get to explaining where that comes from momentarily. Before we get started though, let me tell everybody, I send out a daily motivation text message free of charge every single morning to everybody in my text community. This message is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. So since you want to get this message, all you got to do is text me right now on my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every morning when the daily motivation text comes out, because you're a member of my text community, you'll be getting that message again straight to your phone, just as a normal text message comes through every single day. Normal text messaging rates apply based on your phone plan. Secondly, Work on Your Game University is the only place where you can work with me directly, get into our business coaching masterminds. If you would like to be coached by me directly, you want to get access to our courses and frameworks and trainings around mindset, strategy, systems, and execution when it comes to building your business, entrepreneurship, selling yourself, creating content, developing that bulletproof mindset, mastering your discipline, having more confidence. All of these things and more we have training and teaching and coaching on inside of Work on Your Game University. The only way to get access to any of this stuff is to be a member of the university. You do that by joining us at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Make that real simple. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you can get started in taking your next step in your Work on Your Game journey at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So with that said, let's get into today's topic, which is, again, key influence factors. So what we're talking about here today follows up on what I discussed in episode number 2579, when I laid out the subjects of authority, celebrity, and credibility as three things to help you get your name out there and allow people to believe in you, feel like they have the know, like, and trust factors factored in. Episode 2579 was how to quickly boost your status. So those are three things to boost your status. And listen to that episode 2579, and then these things I want to add here today, I want you to add these to the list. And I'll give a hat tip, a credit to Dan Kennedy, who's an old marketing guy. Most of you probably may not know. You may know him for some of his books. He wrote the series of No BS books, is what he called them. And he's not an internet guy, but he's been in a marketing space since before we were doing it on the internet. But he brought these other factors to my attention. So he made it a hot line. I'm going to make it a hot song by expanding on them here today. So let's get into it. Topic, once again, is key influence factors. Point number one, mastery of emotions. Now, why is mastery of emotions a key influence factor? Because I'm not just talking about your emotions, but also the emotions of other people. So what this means is, in the midst of a conversation, when you're talking to another person, of course you got to control your own emotions. In a conversation, on a sales call, when you're in the midst of a presentation, or any other aspect of business, you have to control your emotions, because you don't want your emotions taking over the steering wheel. Remember that emotions are great gas pedals, but they are terrible steering wheels. But control of emotions here, when I say mastery of emotions, is also about your ability to influence other people's emotions through your style, energy, and communication. You need to be able to do this. You got to take other people's emotions and get them where you need them to be based on how you communicate with them. In other words, you got to learn how to push the right buttons with other people to move them to the actions that you want them to take. You got to pull the right triggers with other human beings to move them to action, because we got to remember that even though emotions are terrible steering wheels, it doesn't mean that emotions don't matter. They're great gas pedals. So gas is a good thing. Gas helps you. Any of you driven a car before, you know when you press the gas, that moves the car forward. That actually gets you there. And the harder you press on the gas, the faster you'll get to where you're going, assuming that you're doing so safely. So it's not that the gas pedal is a bad thing. Gas pedal is actually a good thing. Your job is to learn through your communication skills how to get others to press on their own gas pedals to move them in the direction or move forward in the direction that they're already pointing. So this is all your indirect way of controlling other people. You could even call this manipulating people, but not in a negative way, not in a malicious way, in a positive way, because you're helping them do something that they might not otherwise be able to move themselves to do, but you're going to help them do it. So this is how you can move other people to action, again, through your style, through your energy, and through your communication. When you can tap into other people's emotions, you can move them to action. And there are people out there, some of you listening to this right now, who there are actions that you need to take, but you have been unable to this point to move yourself to action. So if someone else could move you to action, then that person becomes valuable to you. Any of you who has ever hired a coach or had a trainer, or you played a sport and there was a coach, or you had a trainer for a sport, or you ever listened to a podcast or watched a video or read something, and that thing that you listened to, watched, or read moved you to take an action that you otherwise had been putting off or procrastinating on or just not doing, or maybe you hadn't even thought about it, but then you read or heard something that said, you know what, that's a good idea, I should probably do that, and then you went and did it. This is exactly what I mean. That person was able to, through their communication, energy, and style, move you to do something that you would not have moved yourself to do. And that is a powerful tool. When you can move other people to action, you have power. You have a ton of power. So if you like to see this in action, look at something like your favorite politicians, or any politician who has been very influential, even if they're not your favorite. It is not because of their policies or the wording of their speeches that they're able to be influential. It is because of the emotion that that politician is able to tap into within the people who he or she is reaching. That's what allows them to be influential. They can tap into people's emotions, and that's all done through, again, energy, words, and style. The reason why being able to tap into others' emotions while at the same time controlling your own emotions is so valuable is because when we get emotional, the logical systems of our brain usually turn off, or they get overruled by the emotions. So you want to be able to overcome other people's logical challenges while keeping yours on. You want to turn off their logical brain while keeping yours 100% on. That's the trick. So you control your emotions, and then you help other people not control their emotions, but again, in a positive way. Moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is key influence factors. These are the key factors that allow you to influence other people. Number 2, a sense of humor allows you to be more influential. How's this, Dre? How does a sense of humor make you influential? Because it is easier to persuade people when they are in a relaxed mood, or if they're laughing, or they're happy, or they're jovial, than it is to persuade somebody when they're in a serious mood. And you really think about that. It's much easier to get somebody to do something when they're relaxed and happy and smiling and laughing than it is to get them to do something when they're really serious and really, you could even say, super focused. Usually when we're laughing, we're not super focused on anything. We could be focused on the thing we're laughing at, but it's a relaxed type of focus. Whereas a more serious focus, it's harder to move somebody to action in. It's not that you can't move someone to action when they're in that state, but it's easier to move someone to action when they're in a relaxed, calm, happy state. Which when somebody's laughing, usually that's a relaxed, calm, and happy state. So it doesn't mean that you need to become a comedian when running your business, but it does mean you should have a touch of humor just about yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. All of those things are valuable when it comes to having a sense of humor. Can you have any self-deprecating humor that you can use? Can you see the humor in certain circumstances in life, even when the situation may seem dire? Are you able to cut through the tension in a conversation or in an environment with some humor when you can tell that it's needed? There are times in life that all of us are in situations where some humor would really help cut through the tension and relax everybody, but many times people can't do anything about this need because they simply have no sense of humor, or you don't have anything that you could say that would relax everybody. So your ability to laugh at yourself, make light of situations, be able to read the room in terms of what to joke about and what not to joke about, all of these things are part of your sense of humor. And this sense of humor is a valuable tool, especially when you're a person in a position of power. Not the weak position, but the position of power. Because when you're in a position of power, your presence alone and your status relative to everyone else may intimidate people who are subordinate to you. And those people may not feel comfortable around you until or unless they know that you're willing to laugh just as much as they are. They may take their job extremely seriously, and they're always serious, and everybody around you is always serious. It's not because that's who they naturally are as people. It's because they're around you as the boss, the person in charge. And if you are always serious, well, they're going to follow your lead because you're the one in charge. You're the check writer. You're the person in charge. So they're going to follow whatever energy tone you set. So if you change that tone by showing that you actually have a sense of humor and that you're willing to laugh, that'll allow everybody else to relax at least somewhat. They're not going to relax as much as you relax because you're still the boss and they're still not the boss. But you can at least create an environment that allows them to feel comfortable enough to relax at least a little bit. All right? They got to feel comfortable knowing that you're willing to laugh so that they can feel comfortable laughing. This does not mean by any means that you need to become the class clown. It's very hard to be a leader and the class clown at the same time. Those of you not familiar with that term, I don't know if they use that anymore, but back in my school days, there was always a class clown. That was the one kid in the class who was always trying to be funny, never serious, that they couldn't sit still, always joking around. Every time you looked at them, there was something they were either doing or saying that or about to do that whose goal was to make everybody laugh and draw the attention to them. That's the class clown. All right, you can't be the class clown and the leader at the same time. You actually have to pick a role. Anytime your class clown is also your leader, that organization is definitely going to be underperforming. Why? Because people have no idea when to be serious and when to play around. There's this mix. I can't think of a better word here at the time, but there's this mix between the seriousness and the silliness that confuses people because they don't know when to be what. So as the leader, if you're going to establish a leadership position and you want to have a serious organization, you probably have to err on the side of more seriousness because that's the tone that you want to set for your organization. The class clown can't be the person in charge. So let the class clown be somebody else aside from you. So if you got a bunch of funny jokes, but you're the leader, all right, write down all your jokes and email them to the class clown and let them be the clown who tells all the jokes. All right, but I'm being tongue-in-cheek there, but the whole point is, as the leader, you want to have a little bit of humor about you. You got to be able to break the ice a little bit with something every now and then just to show people that you're actually human and capable of emotions like laughter. But at the same time, don't go too far with this because you don't want people to lose respect for your authority, nor do you want people not taking you seriously because you're joking around a little bit too much. So you do need to show people you have some levity, you have a skill of levity within you. For example, President George H.W. Bush. This is the first Bush, not the one who took us to war in Iraq and Afghanistan, but the one before that, the one back in the 90s who lost to Bill Clinton. George Herbert Walker Bush was his name. He once joked that when he was president, it seemed like he was a lot better at golf, right? And the implication was, any of you never heard that joke? And almost every president can use that joke. So Trump can use it, Biden will be able to use it, Obama probably has used it, the second Bush used it, and Bill Clinton probably has used it as well. That they were a lot better at golf when they were president than they were after they were president. And those of you who don't get the joke, the implication is that when they're president, all the people that the president plays golf with lets the president win because nobody wants to beat the president at golf because they have the most powerful position in the world. So you don't want to keep beating this person because they might use their power against you. This is all implied. And Bush says, no, after I wasn't president anymore, all of a sudden my golf game got worse because everybody's beating me. Why? Because nobody needs to kiss their ass anymore and let them win at golf. So they play their regular golf game and beat you at golf because you're not the president anymore. You don't have the most powerful position. But that's a joke that Bush would tell. And the joke is very short. The joke is, I noticed that I was a lot better at golf when I was president. That's the whole joke. And everybody laughs because they get the implication that I just explained to you all. And by the way, if you're telling a joke and you got to explain it, then it's not that funny. You probably got to come up with a better joke. But I'm explaining that to y'all, those of you who don't understand where that came from. The whole point is H.W. Bush, I don't know about the second Bush, but the first Bush, he had some levity. He had some cleverness and some humor about himself. That's the whole point. You need to have this, especially those of you who are leaders, because again, you got to break the ice every once in a while with your group. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is key influence factors. If you want to influence people, these are things you need to have in place. Third thing that allows you to influence people is independence. Independence is influential. Why? This is a pretty straightforward one because human beings are attracted to power and influence. I mean, I just gave you an example. President H.W. Bush. Right? When you're the president of the United States, do you have power and influence? Yes, you do. Is it an attractive position to be in? Yes, it is. Does it make you more attractive and more funny and better at golf than is seemingly everybody around you because of the position you hold? The answer is absolutely it does. Any of you who holds a power position in what you do, whether you're a regional leader in your business, or you're the head coach of a sports team, or you're looked at as a highly respected figure in your community, or you're the principal of a school, or you're the CEO or head of a department in a company, all of you understand that because of the position that you hold, you have a certain amount of power and influence, which translates to independence in the form of you don't need the approval of the people who are subordinate to you. You literally don't need it, and hopefully that translates to you spiritually and emotionally not needing the approval of the people who are subordinate to you. And therefore, because when you're around people from whom you don't need approval, people who you don't really care what they think about you, you care that they see you and that they're listening to you, but you don't really care what they think about you because you have more power than they do, or at least you feel like you have more power than they do, and they feel like you have more power than they do, then you carry yourself differently than when you're in a room full of people who you're trying to impress. Can we agree? If you think about those two scenarios, think about the times, those of you who are in power positions, where you're around people on a consistent basis who you have more power than. They are subordinate to you. So if you have a business and you work in the same physical space as the people who work for you, and they all work for you, you carry yourself a certain way when you're in there because you don't need any of them to agree with you. You don't need any of them to like you. Hopefully they like you, but you're the boss. You're in charge. They all listen to you. You write the checks. Maybe literally, maybe metaphorically, but you're in charge, right? You're the one who's calling the shots. You carry yourself a certain way around those people because you don't need their approval. It gives you a certain level of independence in the way you conduct yourself. Now, juxtapose that with when you're in a room full of people who maybe are your peers. They don't work for you. You don't have any power over them. Maybe they don't have any power over you either, but y'all are all relatively equal. And or when you're in a situation where you're around people who actually do have more power than you. All right, maybe you work for them. Maybe they're above you. Maybe you are subordinate to them, or maybe you're trying to impress or win them over for whatever reason because of the status that they have or something that you're trying to get out of them. You carry yourself differently when you're around those people, your peers or people who have superiority to you or seniority over you, than when you're carrying yourself around subordinates. Can we agree? You have completely different energies in both spaces. Hopefully not that much different, but it's different. Why? There's a certain level of independence that comes with knowing you have power. When you know you have the power, you carry yourself in an independent way. You communicate in an independent way because of that power and influence, and everybody around you notices it. They sense it and they know it. They feel it. The most powerful and influential people are the people who need other people the least. The most powerful and influential people are people who need other people the least. Now, I want you to flip that around and understand it is also true when you reverse that sentence. The people who need others the least are the most powerful and influential people. So when you stop needing people, you automatically increase your amount of power and influence because you don't need them. And they can sense that you don't need them. See, when people can sense that you don't need them, they respect you more when you do need them. So you can't need people and lead people at the same time. You cannot need people and lead people at the same time. I discussed this in episode number 301, which is, I just told you the title. I just said it twice. That's the title of the episode, episode 301. Listen to every episode in history of the show at workonyourgamepodcast.com, by the way. This does not mean, when I say you can't need and lead at the same time, it doesn't mean you become a hermit who's isolated from all other human beings, but it does mean you need to have the power to where you can appreciate the presence of other human beings, but you don't need their presence. And there's a difference between appreciating somebody and needing them. That sense of independence is attractive because, again, humans are attracted to anything that doesn't need us. We are repelled by anything that seems desperate for us. Anytime you come across a person who seems to be desperate for your attention and for your anything that they can get out of you, you will either be repelled by them and try to get away from them and or ignore them, or you may, just because it's human nature, you may take advantage of their neediness. That's one of two things usually happen when we sense that somebody is very needy. We either take advantage of their neediness, or we ignore them and try to get away from them, because it's who wants to be around a clingy person who just doesn't know when to go away? Like, nobody. It's easier to make a sale, salespeople, when you don't need the money than when you do need the money. And understand that you can put yourself in a state of mind of not needing the money, even if logically you do need the money. That's a mindset thing, and this is something that you will definitely learn inside Bulletproof Mindset at Work on Your Game University. It's easier to get a loan from the bank when what? Any of you has ever gotten a loan from the bank, or any of you who pays a lot of attention to your credit? When's the easiest time to get a loan from the bank or easiest time to get credit? When you don't need it, right? When you already have all the money, they'll give you all the money you want. The bank will loan you as much money as you want when you have money. Because why? Because you look like someone who doesn't need money. See, when you don't need it, it all comes to you. When you need it, it runs away from you. That's the way it works in life. Whatever you chase runs away from you, and whatever you don't need chases after you. Think of your shadow. And when you walk away from your shadow, what does it do? It follows you. When you run towards your shadow, what does it do? It runs away from you. You can never catch it. All right, you go outside on a sunny day and try to catch your shadow. You'll never catch it. No matter how fast you run, there's always a step ahead of you, literally. Now, on that same sunny day, turn around and go the opposite way and try to get away from your shadow. No matter what you do, it's right there behind you. It will never leave you. It clings to you. This is the way it works when it comes to independence. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, is key influence factors. You want to influence other human beings. These are the key factors that allow you to do it. Number 4, action bias. And action bias is something that we talked about in episode number 1199, developing your action bias. Why is this influential? Because influential people are people of action. Action bias simply means having the mindset of going and doing something rather than just thinking about, talking about, considering, contemplating, maybe one day. That's thinking about stuff and not doing anything. That's what a lot of people do. Influential people do the opposite. They actually go do something. They get the thought to do something, and the next thing they do is go do it. Not write it down, not think about it, not consider it, not poll the audience and see what everybody else thinks. They go do something. That's what action bias means. They are biased towards action. Influential people are people of action. When they know what they want to do, they get into kinetic energy, which is simply energy in motion. Not just potential energy, which is energy, stored energy that could become something. A lot of y'all are potential energy. Kinetic energy is energy in motion. So they're not just thinking about, planning, and talking about, they're actually doing. So think of the most influential people you know in your life, people who you actually know. Most influential people you know, think of 3 people. You'll notice that they are all people of action. Notice that very rarely do you see them talking about what they're going to do but not taking any action towards it. They're usually doing something, and often whatever they're wanting to do, you don't even know about it until they're already in motion doing it. You don't even know that they had that idea until they tell you that they're already in the process of making it happen. See, people of influence, they're usually not telling you what they're thinking about doing or what they're going to do or what they're going to do in 8 months. They just do something, and then you're like, oh damn, you did that? I didn't know that was on your list. Because that's how they are, because they have a bias for action. They go straight from thought to action, thought to activity, not thought to thinking and writing, and 6 months go by and then a year goes by, then maybe they might do something. No. Now that's what a lot of you do. Let's be honest. You want to be a person of influence? All right, change that equation. I just told you how. Once a person of influence decides they're going to do something, they immediately get into kinetic energy. If you want to be a person of influence, this is what you need to do. Develop the action bias. Listen to episode 1199. Best thing about this one, the action bias, is that you can start doing this right now and you can see it with your own eyes as you do it. Independence may take some time to develop, a sense of humor, master of emotions. These may be a process for you, and you also can't hold them in your hand. An action bias, when someone's a person of action, they're actually doing stuff, you can see it. You can just look at it and see that person doing things. Look at you. Look at your everyday life. What are you doing on a daily basis? How much action are you taking? Can you double your level of action on a daily basis? The answer is yes. I'm not waiting for you to answer. The answer is yes, you can. You can start this right now. It's a choice. Moving on, or not moving on, but recapping today's class, which is key influence factors. This follows again episode 2579, where I laid out authority, celebrity, and credibility. Point number 1, mastery of your emotions. This is not just your ability to control your own emotions, but also your ability to trigger and move other people to an emotional state, because people are more likely to take action when they're triggered by an emotion than when they're triggered by logic. Number 2, a sense of humor. It's easier to persuade people when they're in a relaxed mood, like laughing, than when they're in a very serious mood. Doesn't mean they can't do things when they're serious, but it's easier to move them to action when they're more relaxed. They're more open to whatever it is that you're going to share. So your ability to use some levity, to make jokes, even some self-deprecating humor. Don't go too far with that, because you don't want to lose your position, your frame. But especially those of you who are in a position of leadership, every once in a while you got to show the people in your organization that you're willing to laugh, and even laugh at yourself, so that they know that they can relax a little bit. You don't want to be in charge of an uptight organization where everybody is a little bit too stiff, and that's all following your lead. Number 3, independence. This is straightforward. Human beings are attracted to power and influence. When you are a person of power and a person of influence, you don't need to please anybody, at least in that particular space. And when you carry yourself that way, other people respect you more, because they see that you don't need them. When you don't need someone, you become more attractive to them. When you need them, you become repellent. They want to get away from you, or they'll take advantage of your neediness. Number 4, action bias. Influential people are people of action. When they know what they want to do, they get into kinetic energy and start doing stuff. They don't contemplate, think about, or wait forever to finally get to it. They actually just move into a state of action instead of a state of thinking about it. They skip the state of thinking about it. They go straight from the idea to the action. All of you could achieve a whole lot more in your lives if you just pick this up as a habit. All that said, text me and tell me the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. This is where you get direct access to me, direct coaching from me in my university, where you get access to the coaching program. We got group coaching programs. There are options where you can work with me one-on-one. You get access to all of our best courses and training on mindset, strategy, systems, and execution. We got 30 plus courses in there, 50 plus strategic, tactical trainings on different aspects of business and life. Anything you've ever heard me talk about here on the show, we have training on it inside the university. So just ask me, the answer is yes. That's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all day.